Hello everyone, welcome back to Easy American Guitar with Tabs. This is a bend study that sounds like something Leonard Skinner or the Allman Brothers might play. After this introduction, you'll hear the study, and then after that, I'm going to go through, and with this PDF that's 48 measures long, it goes through and breaks down every phrase. That's 12 phrases where I break it down with the theory knowledge you need. I show you how to tune the bends. I show you how to play the phrase with the drums. And then I give you creative examples. The drum track is included, so you can go to the drum track, learn to play the melodies, and be creative with the drum track. There's also a backing track included with the guitar and bass so that you can play along with that. At the end of the study, I improvise along with the backing track so that you have an example of what it's like to improvise over the whole thing. Now, this study has a PDF. Like I said, it's 48 measures long. It's only $5. It's a great investment for what you're getting from the lesson. I'm going to do a couple other videos with the rhythm guitar. You get all of that, rhythm guitar, bass, lead guitar in the PDF, and you get a great lesson to go with it. I hope that you find this helpful, and hit me up with questions or comments. If you need any help with this, I'll be happy to help you.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so I need to do a disclaimer or an education on how to bend for all of the bends that you're going to do. I'm going to go over this really quickly. The main thing that you want to know is that I'm using 2 fingers to bend. See how my second and third finger are pushing up the strings? Same here, second and third finger. Second and third finger pushing it up here or here. Second and third finger or second and third finger there as well. So there are few players who actually use just 1 finger to bend. That's not that strong of a position with just 1 finger. 2, it makes it easier to do. It doesn't wear your hand out. You can tune the bends easier, all of those things. So try to get used to using 2 fingers to bend all of the bends that you do in every single one of these. I'm not going to say this again. I forgot to say it. And I'm saying it this one time. Remember to use 2 fingers to bend. Okay, so I'm going to break down the theory for measures 1 through 4, which is also the theory for measures 1 through 8, because it's all A minor. In this position, we're playing out of E minor shape of A minor. You can see the description right above measure 1. And it's the pentatonic box shape is right there labeled as A minor pent. It's 5/8, 5/7, 5/7, 5/7, 5/8, 5/8. The bends are going to happen on the second and third strings. I will go over those in detail when we go over the melody. the things that you're going to need to know the most to help you to create your own melodies is that the A's here are the 5th fret, 1st string, 7th fret, 4th string, and 5th fret, 6th string. When you make your own melodies and you resolve to those notes, it sounds like a melody with a beginning, middle, and end. So knowing the pentatonic shape and that where the A's are will help guide you as you're making your own melodies. All right, let's take a look at the actual melody in the study. Okay, so the bends, like the theory, apply to measures 1 through 8. We're going to go from 8 to 10 on the 2nd string, and then bend from 8 up to that same note. And then if you can pre-bend it and pretty much get it, then you know you're physically feeling what needs to happen there. The next bend that happens in the melody is we have a pre-bend on string 3 down to 7. So it's kind of a quarter tone. You have that little pre-bend down to that note creates a sense of emphasis on that note that, that to me creates energy to propel the melody forward. All right, the next bend that you're going to need to be able to tune is going to be from 7 to 9 on the 3rd string. So you're playing 7, playing 9, playing 7, bending up to that same note. And if you can pre-bend it and pretty much get it, then you know you're doing a good job. So anyway, there you go. There's the bends that happen with pretty much measures 1 through 8. Now let's take a look at the melodic content for measures 1 through 4. Let's break it down and talk about it for a minute, and then let's play it with the metronome. All right, so let's talk about a little bit about how to best use this practice routine that we're going to develop for learning this melody. So the first thing I'm going to do is that you want to be able to do, is to be able to play along with me in the video. I'm going to give you examples for every 4 measures 1 through 4, 5 through 8, 9 through 12, 13 through 16. I'm going to give you examples of every single one to play along with just the drums. Get to where you can play it with me, and then go and get to where you can play it along with the drums. The drum track is there for you to have complete openness, so you can experiment with learning the melodies, you can experiment with improvising around with your own ideas. Right now, we're just focused on learning these melodies. So, get to where you can play this next example of me playing along with the drums really well, and then you go and use the drum track in this video to play along with it yourself. All right, so let's get to where we can play along with the drums. Okay, so remember, you got to get this pickup. Here we go, measures 1 through 4. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. That was it. Let's do it again. I'm going to count you in. Here we go. Get the pickup. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Good. And just in case you don't know, by pickup it means we're coming in on the and of 3. So it's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. So here we go with the pickup. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. All right, that was measures 1 through 4. Let's move on. Let's do measures 5 through 8 with the drums. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Pickup 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. We got to get those pickups. If you don't get the pickup, it messes the phrase up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, that's measures 5 through 8. Here's some examples of me being creative with material from measures 1 through 8. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. That was one little 4-measure phrase. Here's another one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Little 4-measure phrase. Here's another one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, let's do one. Well, no, that's enough. That's 3. Let's do one more. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. That's being creative with some of the bends. I hope that helps you to be creative yourself with a few examples. Now go pull up the drum track and just have some fun. Remember, messy freedom is the best thing you can do. Allow for mistakes, allow to be messy, and have some fun. The tonal area has changed for measures 9 through 12. We're in a D dominant 7 sound, which is D, F sharp, A, C. But over that D dominant 7, because it has D, F sharp, and A like a D major chord has, we can use the D major pentatonic, and it'll sound great with that D dominant 7 sound. So we're using the pattern 7, 10, 7, 9, 7, 9, 7, 9, 7, 10, 7, 10. And the notes that are useful to know is the D here on the 10th fret of the 1st string, the D on the 7th fret of the 3rd, and the D on the 10th fret of the 6th. Those notes will give you a sense of resolution. We also, in this melody, we have some double stop bends, which are pretty fun to do. I'll get into those here in a minute. So the bends that we are going to tune in this particular 9 through 12 D dominant 7 or D major area is going to be simply 9 to 11 on the 3rd string. And of course a pre-bend that gets you close is showing that you can actually bend that pretty well. The thing that you're going to want to make sure you can do is bend up and use your pinky to play that A or the 10 on the 2nd string, so you get that double stop sound. There is a lot of emphasis made when you have a double stop anything, 2 notes at a time. Melodically will add emphasis and in energy, if you want to say it, but it's emphasis on those notes. So that tuning is very important because those 2 notes sound great together, F sharp and A. Practice tips for measures 9 through 12. The first thing that you want to know is the pickup this time comes in on beat 3. So it's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. That first bend is on 1. The first note, 3, and 4, and 1, is on beat 3 of the previous measure, the pickup into this phrase. And then when I'm doing the double stop bend, I'm just doing a downstroke through both the 3rd and 2nd string. You can use your 2nd and 3rd finger to bend it by striking both strings at the same time with these 2 fingers. That's also a technique that's used. So you want to be sure to get the pickup and then the double stop strong. When you're improvising, you want to know where your D's are to be able to resolve your melodies. So the D's are going to be on 10 on the first string, 7 on the third, and 10 on the sixth. All right, let's get with the melody with the metronome. Measures 9 through 12 with the metronome. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. That was 1. Measures 9 through 12 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. One more time. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. Let's be creative with this for a bit. Examples of being creative with measures 9 through 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. All right, that was one example. Here's another one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Repeated melodic thing there. Here we go. One more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. All right. Very similar to the original one, but it still works as being creative. All right. Have fun with it. Remember, messiness allows freedom, allows for fun. You'll find your way as long as you keep trying. Okay, so getting into the theoretical knowledge or the musical knowledge that you need for measures 13 through 16, it's the same exact knowledge as measures 1 through 8. We're in the E minor shape of A minor at the 5th fret, and we're playing 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 8, and we're going to resolve to these A's. Right, those A's all sound resolved. Now, the interesting thing about the bends in this particular 13 through 16 is it's physically pretty much the same as those measures. We're going. So it's physically this double stop down to that A. That's the interesting thing about this melody is it's the same physical thing as we did in D, but it sounds great in A minor. So let's take a closer look at that. All right, so going over the bends from measures 13 through 16, we're back in A minor again, but we are doing the same exact first bend that we do in this phrase. Is it physically similar to that phrase that we did in D, except we're just moving it down to the 5th fret. We have that little pickup, 1, 2, 3. We have that little line that's physically exactly the same as in D, and we're resolving with our third finger to the A here instead of our first finger like we did in D. And then the next thing that we have to take into consideration is going from 5 to 7, then to that large bend from 8 to 10 on the first string. So I play those two notes with my first and second fingers, and then that way I can get here to the bend, anticipating that move. And of course that bend is just bending from 8 to 10. And I'm doing a little pre-bend on that D, even though it's not written in. You can do it either way. You can play it without the pre-bend or with the prebend. Either way works just fine. Let's get the practice tips, to play with me, learn it with the drums, and then go do it yourself, and then go be creative with the drums. Here we go. Measures 13 through 16 with the drums. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, let's do it again. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Time with the drums. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, that's with the drums. Now let's be creative with this material. Creative with measures 13 through 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Double stop bend. Here we go. Let's do it again. Being creative with measures 13 through 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. All right. Added a little 7 to 9 bend in there. Here we go. Measures 13 through 16. Being creative with that material. Hopefully these examples help. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. All right, that one was a little bit different, but I think it worked. All right, I hope they helped you out. Go be creative. Go have fun with this material. The theoretical knowledge for measures 17 through 20 is over E dominant 7 sound. This is E, G sharp, B, and D. That sound works really well with the E minor pentatonic. Right? All that sounds great together. So we're using the E minor pentatonic 12, 15, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 15, 12, 15, as we have with every other melody, that little box shape. And in this melody at the very end, I actually bend from this 12 up to 13, which is a G sharp, right? So this sound where we get the G sharp sound of the E dominant 7. It's just a little spice color to move to that G sharp at the very end of the melody. It takes a little bit of knowledge to know that it's there, but as long as you practice it along with me, you'll be able to use it just fine. And if you want to not ever use the G sharp, you can also do that and it'll sound just fine, especially if you resolve to these E's in that position. The E is the 12 on the first string, 14 on the fourth, and 12 on the sixth. Okay, so let's get to the bending from measure 17 to 20. So the first little pickup we have is just 3 and 4, and once we get there to the downbeat of measure 17, it's this physically the same exact thing we did in D, and we did in A, physically exactly the same as the A one. Okay, that's the first bend. It's the exact same thing. You can be more creative with this if you want, but I composed this to be the same so that we'd have some ease, moving around from different positions on the guitar. We can trust that the melody is going to make it easy on us. We also have a bend from 15 to 17 that you need to bend, just like the 8 to 10 bend in A minor. And we have a 14 to 16, just like the 7 to 9 bend in A minor, 14 to 16. And be able to add that pinky note for the double stop. And then the last bend that I've already talked about is bending from 12 up to that G sharp. And that's the only place you can really do this bend is over this chord, because that G sharp is in E dominant 7. E, G sharp, B, D. So you can't do that bend in any of the other positions, A minor or D, with this pentatonic box shape, where it will sound bad. So this one, it sounds good. From 12 up to 13. So 12, 13, 12, 13. And can you pre-bend and get it? That's it. That's the bends for 17 to 20. Measure 17 through 20 with the metronome. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. All right, measure 17 through 20 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1. Time with 17 through 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. All right, cool. All right, now let's be creative with this material. All right, a couple creative examples using the physical characteristics that we play with measures 17 through 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. All right, that was one example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. That on that double stop, just like we had in some of the previous examples. All right, one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. All right, so I ended that one on a bend from 15 to 17 there. That's pretty fun. Okay, have fun with it yourself. I hope those examples help. All right, so the theoretical knowledge for 21 through 24. 21 and 22 are A minor, 23 and 24 are E dominant 7. We are just going to play out of the A minor shape with the E dominant 7 and just end on an E instead of an A. See, sounds great. If I'm still just playing on an A minor, but ending on the note E, it emphasizes E dominant 7. So we also, to really emphasize it, I did a bend from 7 to 9, which is D to E, and double stopped with this E or 5 on the second string. And have that nice, really kind of almost out of tune sounding E right there for the final measure of E7. That would be measure 24, the resolution of 24. All right, so tuning the bends in measures 21 through 24, we just have our normal thing. We've heard that a lot. Remember, this is a study, so it's got a lot of repetition in it to make it accessible for other students. Then we have this, that bend, so we're bending 8 to 10, like we've seen a bunch. We got the little pull-off bend, pre-bend, right there on that D. The only new thing is going bending 7 to 9, but we're going to include the double stop of the second string 5th fret, and you can do this bend where they bend perfectly together. Or you can leave them slightly out of tune. You know, and you get that warbling sound, which is great for that E dominant 7. It just gives it, you know, a propulsion and emphasis. One of my students likes to call that energy. You could call it soul or grit. But whatever it is, it communicates something that slightly out of tune. Bend. It just sounds cool. All right, let's go straight to playing measures 21 through 24 with the metronome or drum machine. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, that was one example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Examples. Let's do one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, cool. Let's get to some creative examples that might help you create some of your own melodies. All right, here we go with a few examples of resolving to E, measures 21 through 24. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, that was the exact same resolution we had in the example, in the solo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Emphasize that little bend, right there. All right, let's do one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, that was kind of fun. I let that bend fall off right there at the end. Okay, I hope those examples help you be creative too. Next section that we are going to study is measures 25 through 32. This 25 through 32 is the exact same harmonic stuff in measures 1 through 8, except now we're playing all of our A minor stuff from the 12th fret. So it's the A minor shape of A minor at the 12th fret, 12, 15, 12, 15, 12, 14, 12, 14, 13, 15, 12, 15. And the A's are the 14 on the 3rd string, and the 12 on the 5th. So as long as you end on those A's, it's going to sound very A-ish. Now, the bends that we're going to get into are going to be the exact same as the content that we did 1 through 8. The melodic content repeats here. Again, this is a study, so everything melodically is exactly the same. We're just an octave higher, and we're in a different place in the guitar. The 5, 8, 7, 5, 7, that box pentatonic that we use for measures 1 through 24 is very useful for bends. And now we're going to use the A minor shape or C shape that's also very useful for bends with all of the melodic content for measures 25 to the end of the piece. Okay, so the bends that we're going to be using from measures 25 to 32, they correspond with the position, the 5th position things, except now we're going to be doing our whole step bend, or from G to A on the 1st string with 15 to 17. So bending from 15 to 17, play 15, play 17, bend up to it. We're doing our pull pre-bend on 15, slightly bent up, down to that D. So you hear it, that little pre-bend down to the 15th fret, and then we have 15 to 17 on the 2nd string. That's all of the bends that you're going to be using from measures 25 to 32. So we're going to break 25 to 32 into 2 4-measure phrases. So here is measures 25 to 28. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Again, 25 to 28. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. time, 25 to 25 to 28. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Some creative examples with measures 25 through 28. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, there was one. Here's another one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Cool. Here's one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, cool. 3 little examples I hope will help you to liberate yourself and play some new stuff for with this content. All right, measures 29 through 32 emphasize the bend from G to A, 15 to 17 on the first string. Here we go. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, there was one. Let's do it again. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, one more time. Then you can go practice it with the drums on your own. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, being creative with measures 29 through 32. An easy way to create variation is to not emphasize this bend. Right? We can create melodies that do other things, and it will be a great way to just create variation. Very simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Resolve it down to that A on the third string. Here we go. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. That time I resolved it to an E by bending up from 15 to 17 on the second fret, D to E. All right, one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, for the last one, I re-emphasized that bend from 15 to 17 with a little rake. A little over harmonic too. Sounds kind of cool. All right, best of luck. Have fun. Okay, so the theory stuff that's really helpful to know about measures 33 to 36 is that we're playing from the C shape of D at the 14th fret. That little position is a great position to catch bends. In D. You can also play the A minor shape of B minor right there, but right now we're in the D, right? So your Ds are going to be on the second string 15th fret and the 17th fret of the 5th string. So if you make up melody, they'll resolve to those Ds to create the D major sound. And of course, because D dominant 7 has a D, F sharp, A, like D major in it, it works. The D major sound works with the D dominant 7 sound. Okay, so let's take a look real quickly at the bends that we can tune with this C shape of D at the 14th fret. So if you go from the D here on the 15th fret of the second string up to the E at the 17th fret, the next fret up here at 19 is an F sharp. It's also F sharp here, 14 on the first string is also an F sharp, so you could tune to either one of those. But I'm gonna go 17, 19, and tune up to that F sharp. Now, another bend that I don't use in the study that I might use when I'm being creative is you can go from this A, or 17 on the first string, to 19, which is a B, on the first string. So we're going to go 17, 19. Those are the two bends. I'll use that when being creative. I didn't use it in the study, but I'll use it when I'm being creative. All right, remember, so with this double stop bend at the end of this phrase, you can use your pick to strike both strings, or you can use your two fingers to grab the strings. We're coming in on beat 3. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I grabbed the double stop with my pick that time. Maybe this time I'll use my two fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Yeah, I used the two fingers that time. Just slightly different sound. I might like the two fingers better, but either one works just fine. It's up to you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I practiced the double finger one again because I wanted to hear it again. All right, on to being creative. So the first thing that I'm going to do to create some variation here is I'm going to add a bend. I'm going to do the 17 to 19, A to B bend. I'm going to add that to the melody to just so that I have a new little tool to mess with while I'm messing with trying to create melodies and be creative here. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. That's one example, ending on that D. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Nice little double stop bend using my pick to catch it and adding that extra bend. One more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Cool. A little way different, you know. I tried a whole lot of new things in that one. Remember, these are meant to be new perspectives for you to liberate you with your own melodies. I hope you have fun creating some of your own melodies. Okay, so the theoretical knowledge from measures 37 to 40 is going to be, we're doing the A minor shape of A minor again, and we're playing this content very similar physical act as we had in the C shape of D for the phrase before this. We're doing the same exact thing. We're even resolving to that A on the 14th fret of the third string. Now we're also bending up from the 15 to 17, G to A. that G to A is a very useful resolution too. You know, the A's that we're going to be seeking right here, this A minor shape at the 12th fret, is this 17 on the first string, 14 on the third, and 12 on the 5th, right? It can sound great to improvise down to that A as well. However, today we're just keeping it simple and within the range of the melody that I composed. All right, so let's take a look at the bends that we need to do for this 30 measures 37 to 40. We got 15 to 17 on the second string, or D to E. And we're coming down kind of with a pre-bend and with that double stop slightly right there, and then a pre-bend back down to the D. And then we're also bending from 15 to 17 on the first string, which is a nice resolution, G to A. And then we bend the pre-bend down right there on that D. We have a pre-bend. It can be from E or the E flat, either one. Right, and we resolve there to that A on the 14th fret of the G string. All right, let's hear this with the drum machine. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Coming in on the and of 3 right there. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, again with the metronome or drum machine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So let's get on to some creative examples so you can be creative on your own. All right, so pay attention to where I resolve these melodies, because that creates instant variation to resolve to different notes. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. I resolved to a double stop there on the second and first string, just like the one in D major, physically the same thing. All right, here we go. Another example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, little messing around with double stops in there and just kind of seeing what I can create. Here we go, one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Ooh, I had a little bend off right there at the end. I didn't mean to do that. Sometimes it sounds cool when you come off a bend. But anyway, we featured that 15 to 17 on the first string resolution for that last melody. All right, pick new resolutions and you'll create new melodies every single time. All right, so from measures 41 through the downbeat of 44, we are playing an E minor pentatonic over E dominant 7. So that minor sound over sounds good with the E dominant 7. The thing that we're doing is playing this exact physical thing, except right here I'm again bending from the G up to G sharp, because we have that G sharp sound end E dominant 7. It's E, G sharp, B, D natural, E, G sharp, B, D natural. So that gives us a chance for a new little resolution at the end. But everything else is physically exactly the same as we did in D. We're doing those same bends in each position with the same shape. We have the A minor shape of E minor. It would also be the C shape of G, but we're using the A minor shape of E minor to get all these nice bends. All right, so let's take a look at the tuning bends that we need to do for measures 41 through 44. The first bend is from 10 to 12 on the second string. That's from A to B. Remember to get it so good that you can pre-bend and pretty much hit the note. Second one is from 10 to 12 on the first string. And you want to be able to pre-bend and pretty much hit the note. We do have a pre-bend down to A, so you're going to bend up on the 10th fret up to about 11 and let it come down to that A to give that sort of energetic emphasis that that pre-bend pull down does. And then the last resolution is from 8 up to 9 to that G sharp. With your first finger, and you want to pre-bend, if you can, to get it physically the feeling you need to really nail that bend whenever you use it as a resolution. All right, measures 41 through 44 with the drum machine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, those little pull-offs can be very helpful too for nuance. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Let's get some creative examples in here. All right, 3 different resolutions. 1 to the G sharp, 1 to the B, and 1 to the E. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, a resolve to the G sharp, using pretty much the same bend the whole time. Here we go. Now we're going to do a double stop bend. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, double stop bend resolution. Now we're going to go from D to E as the resolution. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. We got the D to E resolution in there. Have fun. I hope this helps you be creative. All right, so the knowledge that's going to help you with this last phrase is that the phrase we're dealing with is actually measures 45 through 48. That last little resolution from 48 to 49, that's just a final little statement to wrap up the ending. It's not a strong ending, but it is the ending. So the phrase that we're actually dealing with is a 4-measure phrase from 45, measure 45, pick up into measure 45 to 48. We have the melodic line ending on the and of 4, measure 47, to a half note in measure 48 where it crosses the bar line. So that first half of this phrase is going to be from the A minor shape of A minor at the 12th fret. And we hear it resolving to this A. Right, and we're using this G to A here at the beginning. 15 to 7 is also emphasizing an A note. and then we resolve to A. And then the pickup, all of that in 47, even though the harmonic context is E7, we're still just playing out of the A minor pattern. And what I do to emphasize the E7 sound is come out of that and resolve up from this D to E, or 15 to 17 on the second string. So we really aren't changing harmonic areas with the scale. We're playing out of the A minor shape of A minor the whole time. We're just making sure we resolve our last bit of the phrase to an E over E7. All right, so let's get the bends from 45 to 48. The first bend, and actually the third bend, is from 15 to 17 on the first string. That's G to A. And you play just like we have for every one. You've seen this bend before. Get to where you can pre-bend. And you know you got physically the right thing. Bending with 2 fingers. The next bend is the bend down, where we half-step pre-bend on the second string, 15th fret, and come down to that 15 or D. And it gives it that nice emphasis. I've heard Trey Anastasio do this a lot. He likes that energetic sound. It's got emphasis. The next one is another bend from 15 to 17. And then the final bend is from on the first string, G to A. That's the next bend. And then the final bend, when we're over E7, we're bending up from D to E. And you want to get to where you can pre-bend that. Pretty much. You know, and work that out. You know how to do this. We've done it the whole lesson. So, all right, have fun. You should be pretty good at it by now. Here we are with the metronome a couple of times. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. All right, I'll do it again a couple more times. Remember to slow down YouTube if you need to. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Metronome, then we'll do some creative examples. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. All right, I included that last final bend just for fun. That bend's not that important to deal with, just because it's a weak ending, but you don't have to deal with it really. Just make sure you get the phrase right. Here we go, on to creative examples. This creative example has to be a little bit more restrictive because we're resolving to E7. So I'm always going to resolve from 15 to 17 or on the E in that position. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. That one was a little busy. Here's another one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. All right, pretty fun. One more. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Examples. I hope that helps you to be creative with this phrase. Okay, so here at the end of the study, I have decided to do an improvisation over the entire form, playing something that, you know, is at the spur of the moment, just making it up as I go, and not using the same exact melodic content every single time. Giving myself the freedom to be a little bit more adventurous so that you have an example of what it's like to play through the entire piece with an improvisational attitude. You don't have to play the same thing every time. In fact, you shouldn't. You should try to vary it up and have some fun. Enjoy being creative and messy. All right. Until next time, enjoy the improvisation, and I hope you learned something and had fun.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. One, two, three, four. 1,